it's really hard to know what it is nationally. Does it feel more severe? Of a completely different scale to anything we've ever experienced before? Yes. So I don't doubt that there's a serious national issue, and that whilst, we've been doing everything we can to solve our local issues, and I'm sure, other local authorities have as well. Fundamentally, that risk isn't going to go away until the national issue is sorted.
Sure. Okay, so in your experience, what do you think are the main causes of this?
Well, we know that there have been underlying causes in that labour market with an ageing market, ageing workforce for quite a few years. But clearly something snapped and something changed, almost overnight. And, you only need to look at the news to see the impact it's having across different parts of the food supply chain, etc., to see it wasn't just waste companies and local authorities that didn't see that coming on anything like that scale. So I think, clearly, the fact that we've had people exiting the market over time, and then there just weren't enough people getting tested last year. Clearly, the loss of European workers because of Brexit. And then it's not just this, is it? It's not just drivers. The whole labour market is hot. You can see it, especially down where we are in Somerset, a tourist area. Everybody's kind of complaining about difficulties finding staff. So, that's there as well. Attributing, the whole overall problem to kind of go, well, this much of it is caused by that, and this much of it is caused by that, I think is nigh on impossible. I think fundamentally, for us, it's about retention, and morale is the first thing. Then it's about recruitment, with both the kind of short-term agency aspect, which has been the bit I think has been particularly hard for everybody over this summer. And then it's about retraining and getting more people into the industry.
Okay. So 3 steps there. You've got retention, you've got recruitment was number 2.
Yeah. And retraining.
Okay. Does Adept have any particular recommendations for how to retain their drivers? Is it wages? Is it morale activities?
I think it's not just wages. I think it's probably the most important thing. I think also, we are in the midst of a really, really challenging situation. None of us quite know when and how quickly the world is going to settle back to normal post-COVID and post-Brexit, if we're honest. So I think that environment makes long-term decision-making really challenging. But yeah, retention is important. And I think it's important to focus on the things that make our jobs good compared to other jobs. So, the fact that you're not working away from home, away from your family and friends like you are if you're a long distance lorry driver, the fact you're not working on your own, you are part of a team. Things that might be are a disadvantage to some, but an advantage to others. The fact that often, certainly our drivers, they get out the cab, they do load as well. So, there's not just that sitting on your bum all day long aspect to kind of long distance lorry driving. And probably the crucial one then is the kind of that offer in terms of, it's an early start, but it's an early finish that can be family friendly. I think we can do more to get women into the workforce. It is quite a different job to the kind of the long distance distribution center based kind of lorry driving offer, but also we need to be realistic. I think we do have good terms and conditions, certainly locally, and I'm sure others are the same. But yeah, we need to think about the kudos of the job and emphasize the environmental aspects of it rather than that more traditional view of I'm a bin man kind of thing. And I'm not doing that down at all. It's an absolutely vital public service. And I think working out ways to build on the fact that actually the public have recognized that the men and women doing their rubbish and recycling collections are amongst the heroes of lockdown and heroes of the pandemic.
Absolutely, that's true. I mean, I know Veolia, only a week or 2 ago, they were talking encouraging mums to consider a career because it fits so well with
exactly family. Yeah. But that's been hard. Then we need to be realistic. Actually, certainly in Somerset, we've seen recycling go up by about 20% over lockdown. Well, we haven't magically got 20% more trucks and crews. So that has meant crews have been working incredibly hard for a long time, certainly in a, and we're proud that we haven't had any workplace transmission, but it's been a stressful working environment, I think, for a long time, hasn't it? So we need to recognize that.
Obviously, it's difficult to look too far into the future, but do you see any short-term relief for this?
Yeah, we do. So this week, after a couple of months of it being really hard, we're kind of finally at full deployment. So we kind of see, in the short term, certainly kind of recovery. We've got 23 loaders being trained up as drivers. Hopefully they'll, be ready early November. So yes, in the short term, and obviously we've got measures in place to encourage people to come and work for us. But fundamentally, we've got to get more people into the industry. If it's just about pay, it's just going to be tit for tat, and nobody can afford that. I think, referring to your earlier question about what government can do, I think they need to think really carefully, is one thing, about the future legislative change. It's like, well, DRS. I mean, we at Adept have serious questions about the wisdom of bringing that in before EPR and before kind of a digital offer has been worked out. But if you just look at it through the lens of drivers, well, that's just more drivers, isn't it? It's more drivers that we don't have as a country, because it's not going to release many from frontline waste collection services. It just requires more to kind of drive around from shop to shop. So
would you say that was the top that should be the top of the government's priorities? I mean, I know that the ESA sent a letter to the Home Office a week or two ago, asking her to take action to try and intervene to help out with the situation here. Do you think that should be the top of the list?
I think they need to own part of this problem, rather than kind of thinking the industry can solve it on its own. So we will do, working with our contractors, everything we can to attract people into the market, to train people up. But yeah, government needs to look at the root causes of it and work out what it can do to address it. I mean, I'm not going to pretend they're going to unwind Brexit just because of a driver shortage, but they do need to then look at all of the kind of policy agendas, and we all know that, whilst it might not directly affect drivers in the waste sector, the tax reforms, they've had an impact on the overall driver pool.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that I wanted to ask about was the changes to the diesel tax, because obviously those are coming up quite shortly now. It's April, I think.
I think so, yeah.
What is the feeling at the moment, particularly with Adept, about the red diesel changes?
Well, clearly at Adept, we support kind of policies that move us on to kind of address our climate emergency challenges. Mm-hmm. This is one of those ones, though, that clearly has a cost impact. Certainly in Somerset, we use red diesel at our depots. So one of the things we've done is started a trial of hydrogenated vegetable oil to see, okay, fine, that's going away. I mean, it still costs more than red diesel, but the carbon savings are very significant. Slightly lower calorific value, so it's not completely an exact substitute, but certainly it's triggering us to look at those kind of things. So again, what I would caution is we've got a cumulative impact of changes coming on us. We're already dealing still with the COVID and the aftermath. We're dealing with the driver shortage. We've got huge legislative change coming up. We've got absolutely no certainty at the moment that the change is being made, much of which we support around EPR, but whether they will be fully funded, whether the costs of transition will be fully funded. And each of these are kind of projects and bits of work to do. So there's just a cumulative pressure on the sector that I think government need to recognise there.
Certainly. I mean, is this advice that you would give to smaller businesses to look at towards, transitioning to perhaps hydrogenate?
I think people need to look at all sorts of different solutions, but yeah, I think the risk is at the moment we're all dealing with really difficult circumstances with the driver shortage and COVID. So it's just making sure that we're all keeping an eye on all the other balls and keeping all the plates spinning.
No, absolutely. 2022 is a very busy, very busy year. Okay, I think that's just about all I really needed. I just wanted to touch base with you.
Cool. Yeah.
Obviously, if we're putting this into bigger features, bigger articles, then I'll send them to you to approve.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Richard. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you ever so much, Mick.
That's all right. Hope you make it through to the end of the week.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.